I just feel like we need to be that encourager to let them know how much the Lord's, appreciates them and
A faithfulness. If you are faithful to show up, God's going to be faithful to meet you where you are.
Can't lose Jesus. I say we can't lose.
That's right.
Well, I've always wanted that, right? Let's be Jesus.
Let's just be Jesus.
Yeah, there we
So
go.
we can't. Al, did you just hang up on Jesus?
He's going to be really disappointed when I tell him he was here.
Jesus, find us here. Send your glory down. You change the atmosphere. We live to see your kingdom now. Father, you are here. Watch your children dance. We'll be fools for you. We'll do the things we see you do. We believe what you said. We believe all the things you've done. You said we will do the same, and we'll do greater things. We'll do greater things.
Can I go back to the
Yes.
beginning of this? Because, we talked about, how things started and the meeting at Eaton, and everybody was excited, and it was true. And just for the fun of it, I have to throw in, we were all excited, but there were 4 of us on staff, and 3 of them went on vacation while we were starting it. So I'm sitting in that church office we got, trying to figure out how to get phone lines and everything else. But nonetheless, so
Operations guy, too.
yeah, I learned a lot quick. So we start this thing, and it's energy, and it's wonderful, but we actually don't have anywhere to meet during the week except for this small church office. And I had been doing a Friday night praise and worship thing with college students and young adults. Had a lot of Taylor students coming over, some Ball State students, and now nowhere to do something like that. Mm-hmm. And so we wanted to continue to be able to do something, and I don't even remember how the idea came. Oh, I know, probably I drove past the Delaware County Airport every time I drove to Eaton. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, well, they got those big hangars out there. I wonder if they'd rent one to us. And I didn't really think they would, but I had the meeting, and he said, yeah, we'll rent one to you for $175 a month.
A month.
Yeah, I mean, just
Oh my goodness.
An entire airplane hangar.
yeah. Now we only got it for Friday night, but they would move a plane out. We would set up staging, lights, chairs, everything else. We had a Friday night praise and worship thing. That transitioned to having bands in because that was more of kind of what people wanted on a Friday night. We called it 747 because it was at the airport.
That's cute.
Started it.
747. Love it.
Started at 747.
That was before he did any advertising stuff.
Yeah, there we go. Oh my
you
goodness, I
go.
still remember post holing holes and sticking signs in every Friday night at the corner of Reagan and Walnut. Oh, well, nonetheless. So many things.
Putting posters up on Ball State campus.
Taylor's campus,
Taylor's
all over the
campus,
place.
Do it again.
Huh?
We need to do it again.
Oh. And things started to get moving, and there was some energy behind it. And we had I don't assume several of you were probably here. We ended up having a New Year's Eve party at the hangar because we just didn't have, that was the only space we had.
Yeah.
They said we could use it on New Year's Eve. Nobody else was using it. So we moved our stuff in. We had a whole church party on New Year's Eve. It was great until January came, and it turns out January in Indiana is really cold. And the little
Hangars aren't.
And airplane hangars are not very
there's a
warm.
little heater in the corner, and it wasn't doing much. And so we quickly realized we need to find somewhere else. And so Jim Marker, the youth pastor, and I are looking all over town. We find a space above Hazel's Jewelers. and we rent it out for $300 a month. Another Brad
Every
Bembo,
day. Not just
and we had it all the
Fridays.
time. Another Brad Bembo story, because now we're in contract negotiation kind of stuff, and I'm like 24 and I have no idea what's going on. And Brad just kind of, carried me through the process. But so we have this space, but it needs renovated.
The steepest stairs you ever
Oh my
saw.
gosh.
There were a lot
Very
of stairs.
steep.
A lot of
They're
stairs.
still terrifying.
But the space was gorgeous, these huge windows.
Oh, yeah.
But it needed a lot
Yeah,
of work.
we put a lot of work in.
And it was a whole church effort. I mean, people showed up, they cleaned, they painted. I
They
learned how
picked
to.
up dead birds.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
there were
built
a lot.
that- built a small raised stage in one
Yes. Yeah.
corner.
We
right?
actually took the stage from the airport hangar,
Okay.
and made a permanent stage out of the staging.
Put a kitchen in. That little kitchenette.
Yep. Oh yeah, you
I
did
remember,
the tiling
yeah.
in the kitchenette,
Yeah,
I believe. Yeah. It would be impossible to say all the different things that Roger has done,
Oh,
built,
yes.
tiled, but nonetheless. So we do this thing. We open up, and we've got it's March when we open up, so college is still going, and we've got some energy to it, and we get some movement, and then May hits, and all the college students go home. But I was determined. This is just kind of a part of me. I said we're going to be open every Friday night because I didn't want people to have to figure out whether the living room was open. We called it the living room because where do people gather? They gather in the living room. And so I was determined we were going to be open every Friday night. We were open every Friday night through the summer. And I still remember when it was me, Christina, Terry Owsley, the band, and 5 people who showed up one night in the summer. But we made it through and kept going. And then the living room starts to take off. And this Friday night praise and worship that we had done, that wasn't happening anymore because this band thing was going. So we just started a Bible study with like 12 Ball State and Taylor students. And I would lead the Bible study, and Sarah Scarborough McLaughlin would do worship. And then the Bible study started to have more people, and then 12 became 30, and then we were doing a service, and then there's 70 people, and so we've got all this going on. The Friday night thing, the bands, the living room becomes like a place to play.
venue.
We've got artists coming up from Nashville to play at the living room on their way through to whatever their next stop is. We had times where, well, I guess it's done, so I can say these things. The fire marshal never gave us a number
Yeah. It was.
because I can't remember what it was, but he couldn't calculate the number. And so I don't know what the number was. And I never used, well, I guess, why not? I can say it now. The whole thing's done. So there were nights where we were selling out 2 shows, 200 people a show in this room up there.
And there was only one stairway to go up.
One exit.
Very
Yeah.
steep stairs.
Oh, we
Steep,
had the
yeah.
little throw them out the window ladders. We had all kind of, I mean, we're fine.
They'll sit next to the windows.
But that was a big room too.
That was
It
like
could
John
handle
McLaughlin.
people.
John McLaughlin,
Oh,
John
yeah.
Barrels, those were some of the
Yeah,
guys.
Sidewalk Prophets was
Oh,
there at
yeah.
different times.
So
Wow.
many bands.
Yeah.
that-
Good times.
That's so cool.
Good
Yeah,
times.
so that place ended up starting to become a multi-purpose, it was a venue on Friday and Saturday nights. It was a multi-purpose church. We had college dinners up there and youth group up there.
Sunday school.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day.
And we had
Valentine's
Valentine's.
Yeah.
My husband and his crushed
Yes.
blue velvet.
Yeah,
Yes.
I believe the Valentine's Day party was your
I'm
idea.
Savannah.
And Pat recruits Scott to be the MC for the night.
The not so newlywed game.
And not so really big. And the bad part was it snowed
So bad.
That was
And,
one,
and we had like a lot of older people in our church that were really worried like they're gonna like fall down the stairs. So here I am in my heels tromping through the snow, and we're all trying to like help them down the stairs. Oh my gosh, and just like please let them not fall. Like
I
That
had to
was
make
so
sure
much
the
fun.
food was hot.
yes.
I made the food in our kitchen.
Yes.
Not a health department.
No.
But dang, it was good.
Man, we had a riot that
But it was a
night.
great
Oh,
evening.
I'll tell
Oh,
you,
my
there
goodness.
are more people that still come up to me and talk to me about that.
Oh,
I know.
I still remember
Oh.
your tux.
I know.
did it. How many years did we do
Yeah,
that?
three times, I think.
3.
Yeah, yeah.
It was so much fun. It was of all
okay,
things.
Okay, so
You know what's
remind
crazy?
us of your
Oh.
your question and answer.
Well, one year, the way
You
they
gave me a
determined-
nickname.
Listen,
How-
the way they determined the
Gosh.
who the couples were for the not so newlywed game was as you came in, you got like one of those rolls of tickets. You got a raffle ticket, and they draw the numbers out, and you got one per couple. And if your number was called, you were one of the couples. Well, one year, Roger and I got to be the couple, and I just knew. I mean, we knew each other well enough that we would win that big prize, right? I just
I
knew
blew
it.
that one question.
You blew a lot of them, but anyway,
Well, I blew the one that stuck
the
with
one
me.
question that he really blew, that I couldn't believe he blew. My question was, Scott asked me, what is your nickname for your husband? And I told him. And so Roger comes out and he says, oh, I don't know, honey, or something like that. And I said, no. And I raised up my card and it said, my sweet Babu.
And Dan perpetuated that for years. Yeah, Babu. And he had other people doing it.
So fun. It was so fun.
Sweet Babu.
Yeah.
I didn't even know who Sweet Babu was.
It was you. It was
That place was a big commitment. I mean, we were there just about every Friday night
Yeah.
for
For how
5
long,
to
David?
7 years.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was-
I mean,
Yeah.
for several years we were there. I mean, just about every Friday night. For the first year, I think every Friday night.
Yeah.
And
then
then
it-
almost
amazing.
every Friday night. So,
But then it transitioned into Tuesdays and
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times it was Friday night, and then Saturday morning we're working on the place because it needed lots
of
of work
TLC.
and running new electric for a new AC because we need more. And, I mean, there were so many things, and you were very patient with the amount of time I gave to all of that. But another piece that we've got to go back to is, so we started with, college young adults, youth, worship, and a senior pastor. And our big missing piece was a children's pastor. And I was the children's liaison at first, and I knew that was going to be problematic because I had no idea what I was doing. We had some wonderful folks in the church who really ran the team. We knew we needed a children's pastor, and so I think Wayne had told Jim Marker and I, like, try and figure it out. And Jim said, okay, I've heard of this guy. He's doing an internship at Church of the Crossing. Every church wants him. It's Chris Shirk. And we got to go talk to this guy. I'm like, great, because I'm terrible at this. So let's go find somebody.
and he was like senior year of
Senior year at
Anderson.
Anderson University, we went over to a coffee shop in Anderson, and we're just having a conversation, and I'm going, I love this dude. Like, this is great. Can we hire this guy? But, it's kind of like, these other big churches are going to offer him a job, and so it's not going to matter. So I don't know how the process went, but Jim and I said, yeah, this guy is good. So the elders go through their process, and we offer him the job, and he takes it. And I was stoked. So Chris and Rachel come. I remember we were at their wedding early on, and Chris and Rachel only come after this group by maybe a year or so. Yeah. And they start in and are still obviously with us, have been a massive part of our church, all the way through the birth of their son Malachi and complications with Malachi after that. And then we had our daughter who died, Zoe, who died 3 days later. Then we go to adopt our son Micah, who we no longer have, because he went back to his biological family. But we're in the hospital with Micah while they're in the hospital with Malachi down in Indy over at Riley. So we're like walking across from one hospital to another in Indy.
I never put two and two
Yeah,
together. These happened at the
visiting
same
each other.
time.
And so right
Oh my
around this
gosh.
2005, 2006 time, was really tough times for the Smiths and the Shirks.
Yeah.
And we were still in between senior pastors.
Yes.
It was really tough moments. And in the midst of some of that, somebody talked about, you talked about, I think, Wayne coming to your house. Chris came from Riley Hospital to Muncie to dedicate our daughter Zoe when she was 2 days.
Because he was in the hospital
With Malachi.
then and with Micah 5 months later.
Yeah. So much with Malachi. But he came back from the hospital at Riley with Malachi to dedicate Zoe at the NICU at Ball on day 2, and then went back. Just such a special thing for us for him to do that. It's such a sacrifice. And he and Rachel have given in so many. I mean, Chris has been the children's pastor, the worship pastor, some version of the discipleship pastor, things I'm not even remembering. Elder, senior elder.
Worship pastor. Was he the worship pastor?
Yeah,
No.
he said worship. You said worship.
Oh, I said worship. No, sorry, I meant youth.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Not worship pastor. I think he is worship pastor.
Youth.
My bad.
He's worship though. He's been a part of the worship
He's
team.
always been a part of the
Yes.
worship team. Actually, often hasn't been able to be a part of the worship team because of everything else he was doing, even though he sang in college and did all that. But yeah, going through so many of those pieces, and I remember after we went through what we went through with Zoe dying and Micah getting taken back away, I was pretty done. I kind of hung on for a while, and I just remember that last year on staff where I didn't have much to give, and Chris Shirk, he kept the ship going.
Yeah.
We had different interims, and that was fine, but Chris Shirk was the guy keeping things going back then, kind of like Jeremy, several years ago, did that. But yeah, obviously the Shirks have been a huge part of the development of this place.
Talking again about the body of the church and that the people are what are the roots.
Doing what needed to be done. We followed the lead of this church. We followed the lead of God. We were being spoken to as individuals and collectively so many times. And I always believed that's the way we could mesh together and come together. People even doing stuff outside their normal comfort zones. I just myself have been amazed at I avoid the word now, volunteer, but the people who have simply chosen to serve in so many ways. I'm so grateful for that.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about that, is you've chosen to serve in so many ways. And as your wife is currently, sorry calling you out, serving in a way that's been huge for our church with the staff lately.
Yes.
Yeah, tell the story of Josh Capstick.
Yeah, so we were at a prayer meeting one night, and
When was this?
we were in the church office, so it was pre-2007, somewhere between
First year, second year?
maybe, let's say third year.
Yeah.
We're going to say 2000, we'll say 2003.
And at that point, you have a thriving young adult college ministry.
The living room is going, and that was probably, I'm assuming that was where Josh had come in. So we were at a prayer meeting, and I'm not exactly sure all of the details, but in the midst of the prayer meeting, Josh says, I'm ready. Oh no, he pulls me aside and he's like, I'm ready to be baptized. And I'm ready right now. And I don't know if he said
And this is
something
like
about
a 21-year-old who's attending the prayer meeting.
Yeah.
Right?
With me, a few others, and people older than me. And I think because Brad had been such a big part of Josh's life, I think I might have called or texted Brad and said, hey, Josh is ready to be baptized. And Brad or Julie said, well, then bring him over and baptize him in our pool, tonight. So we drive over after a prayer meeting. It's dark. And I baptized Josh in their pool on a Tuesday or Wednesday night after a prayer meeting.
That's great.
Baptism's always been a big deal. I was actually baptized in this church. I was a pastor first, and then I was baptized. I came from a different tradition, and so I was baptized. Yep. I was baptized in a hot tub at the Horizon Convention Center.
As was I.
There we
Yes.
go.
Hot tub.
Yep.
And some people were baptized
And
in
our-
a feeding trough.
Yep.
And Tana, our oldest, was baptized by David. And the same day, I was rededicated, and he did me. I rededicated my life.
And you were baptized again.
Yes.
That.
And David did that. I don't know if you remember.
You know, there are a lot of things I don't remember because Brad actually reminded me that I baptized him
Yeah.
and one of his sons.
Really?
Yeah, like because he had kind of rededicated his life.
I wasn't an elder yet.
I think that was back in
You remember the baptistry we just got rid of was made by Fred and Ronnie and those. Yeah. And I remember the first time we had it down on the floor, one of those moments for me again. People were getting out of it, and there was one whale of a lot of water puddles. And so knowing where the mop buckets were and stuff, I'm up there, they're coming out, and I'm mopping water.
Like that cartoon of that little guy pushing.
It was up at the front.
Because of our family and how spread out they were, Wayne Anderson actually came to our house and dedicated Madison and Garrick. And did a dedication ceremony for each of them at our old house in Farmington before we moved to our house in Yorktown. And it was just super special. I mean, he and his wife
But
both.
then each of our 3 kids have been baptized here.
Well, not here. Madison.
Well,
Madison was it?
Was
It was
here?
here. That's right. It was
here.
here. No, Madison was on the stage.
Yep.
Garrick was absolutely. We were out doing it with service outside, and he said, "I'm ready right now." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Special.
And that one went, and then it was Mother's Day a year ago that Athena was baptized,
Spontaneously also.
which was amazing because the first time that she ever looked at me and said, "I love you," without me saying "I love you" to her first, was on Mother's Day.
Oh.
Yeah. And it was it was like Mother's Day a year after we had gotten her, and so she was 3, and that was really special. So
Oh,
yep,
that's
Yeah.
neat.
Yep.
That's really neat.
yep. And she got baptized in Scott's mom's sweater. She was wearing her tutu's sweater, who had just passed away the year before, and Scott's dad was here. And that day he looked at Stephanie and he goes, "You know what? You just might get to baptize me." And I'm like, "Okay, my next one, his dad. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. He'll be my next one.
Wow.
He'll be my next one." And then I got to be on stage with one of my best friends when they were baptized here.
So it always has been a super special part of what's going on here.
Yes.
I remember a stretch of a few years where we didn't have many baptisms, where it was, and there were a lot of things. It was difficult times. And then when we started to have baptisms again and just kept having more and more, there's just so much life in place.
Different energy for sure.
Every time there's a baptism, I kind of get a tear because I think back, we weren't here, and we had to do what we had to do to get here. And so whenever there's a baptism, I look around this room at people and what's happened here in the past and think of the past and think, this wouldn't happen. This wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for people doing what we did. We wouldn't have continued as a church because it was so close. We were very close to closing the doors.
Yeah.
Yes, we were. And a
And
lot of churches don't have that commitment, or they don't get through those times. And even at our very beginning, and being nervous about offering jobs to people, not knowing how we would keep them employed, and you guys, you were so young, and thinking, they're just kids, and that could be devastating, and you just think of all those things. But I think that's part of why it's strong, is because of how much we loved each other and loved loved and felt committed to what the Lord was doing.
I just can't gloss over the fact that while there's been a lot of amazing, there's been a lot of pain.
Yes,
and a
there
lot of
really
hurt.
has.
Well,
And a lot of give me a second.
I'm sorry.
And a lot of disappointment. I mean, so there's no way we can act like, oh, it's just, no, it's been painful. The story of this group is we just stayed.
Yes.
We didn't
Yes.
stay because it was all perfect.
Yeah.
We stayed because we're just kind of committed to this
We
group.
know family is pain, hurt, and good times.
Absolutely.
And our commitment wasn't to the leader.
Yes.
Our commitment was to the Lord.
To the
I
church.
just really feel like that was an important part. But you're right. And you know, in that pain that we've all been through, you know, there's kind of a familial thing with that. Just knowing, you know, just looking around and saying, gosh, I'm really glad they're still here. I'm really glad they stuck it out, you know, because they mean a lot. I remember, Al, you spoke one time about being a Christian in the military, and my son was getting ready to join the military, and I
Scary
was
time for a
so
mom.
terrified. And the things you said just gave me hope and encouraged me so much. And I always said it was the hardest thing a mom can ever be proud of, because you're terrified but proud. And just, you know, we've had a lot to go through. I remember you asking if it was okay if you sent the Eggemeyer book with Micah. I remember that.
The Bible.
Yeah. Because we gave that when we dedicated kids back then. And we were like, I can't believe he thought he had to ask. You know, we were just so, yes, of course you can, you know. And
Well, you hadn't gotten, you know, things got pretty rushed that weekend.
I know.
it was, you know what? And we don't even know the half of all that,
No.
you know. I mean, it just,
Well, and you know, something that I feel like has been a part of this church, like we have this unique perspective because we were on staff for a time, but this church, as many like ups and downs as we've gone through, I have just felt so much support from the congregation when we went through hard things.
That's true.
Like the weeks and weeks of meals, and I know that's a way that people show up, but it's a meaningful thing. You know, I had gift cards for meals for probably 2 years, and after losing a daughter and then losing Micah and getting pregnant again and being scared to death, like I didn't want to cook for a really long time. But people showed up time and time again. I mean, I feel like everyone here in this group showed up one way or another for us, but that was when David's mom tragically died in a car accident, when we
So
lost
awful.
our kids. But then I think about people did that over and over again for Chris and Rachel. Like we have had
Yes.
staff that have had intense needs, you know, as they went through all of the medical stuff with Malachi, and people showed up for them, and we were offered grace in, you know, barely being able to show up here in different ways. And then, you know, that happened in lots of cycles for Chris and Rachel. But I think about when David Hasselmeyer went through a divorce and like the support that was given to him while he was on staff. And then Megan Flores for Mom and Grandma dying, and how people were so supportive of that as well. And so that
Even
just feels like
Jeremy and Casey, they're fire.
they're fire, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, still dealing with
absolutely, yeah. And so I just feel like that is a way, like a defining piece of our church that the congregation has shown up. Is,
I agree.
yeah.
That's really important, Christina.
Sorry, this is a little random, but one quick addendum that I just want to mention. I talked about our son, Micah, our adopted son, Micah, getting taken away. And I just want to mention that was in the first 30 days of our adoption. So that's not a thing that happens, but only in the first 30 days can something like that happen. So,
And it was
we have so much adoption in this church, and I want people to know, no, adoption is forever.
It's a great thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it was like the last night that it could happen, right?
Yeah, on the 30th day we found out.
Yeah, and I guess I will speak to that too. So, we, our youngest daughter is adopted, and when Scott and I got married, he said, "Oh, I want to have a few kids and adopt some." And I said, "You've married the wrong woman. I don't think I'm built for that." And he's like, "Okay." Well, then fast forward, and Garrett gets playing baseball on a team with a friend of ours who's a DCS caseworker, and he and his wife had adopted a little girl, and they were fostering a little boy. And literally on that baseball team, 3 parents, us included, became foster parents because of that little boy. And the thing that I hope is that I hope he understands how he touched people's lives. But for the longest time, I was fighting with the Lord over it because he kept telling me, you need to talk to Scott about this. And I kept, "No, I do not. I am not built for this, dear Lord. I am not." Finally, literally, the Lord put a rock in my stomach and was like, "And it's going to stay there until you talk to him." And literally, I had a conversation with Scott, and it was gone. And Scott, no, actually, he was like, "Really? Like, we talked about this a long time ago, and
we talked about
and you said no, and here we are." And I said, "Well, I don't know. I think we just need to, kind of go down this road." And at that point in time, we were in a small group with Christina and David and several
many
other
families who had adopted.
And many families who had adopted. And it was just, that was, to me, it's a huge God thing. I mean, and it's, without the support of that group and without all of that, and now there's like so many families we know in this church that have adopted children, and the cool part about that is that they've also really been people that Athena can connect with and can talk with and can share with, and because it's a unique experience to be in that position.
Seasons. We've all had seasons where we've lost loved ones. And we've lost a lot of OGs. We've lost some friends to, things have ebbed and flowed, the highs and the lows, and we've lost them over different things that have happened in the church. Cammie's dad passed away on Monday.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Cammie.
He was an OG.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
And, I can say right now that, the leadership we have in Stephanie Collins, who was brought on by, I believe I think you were an elder at the time, and our church was in a season within the last 5 years with COVID and things where we were in a very similar position financially. I've learned since being an elder again that was very close to what we were as we were contemplating closing our doors before moving here.
Yes.
Another good time they didn't listen to me.
But leadership at the time prayed, and we found a senior pastor. Unbeknownst, he was going to provide somebody that had already been here and knew some of us and knew some of the history. But I can honestly say that she is listening to what he wants us to do in the next 5, 10, 15 years, 25 years. She's got big dreams. And you can kind of start to see some on the horizon already. And there's times kind of slow down a little bit, but you don't want to, you don't want to slow a person down that's thinking, that's dreaming, and so I just think it's a blessing that I can be an elder again, but we have seen so many people come and go, and some people kind of but not be in this building with us on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And I think we have to think about them.
Well, that brings up something I've been thinking here as we're going along, that 25 years ago, obviously we were all younger, but we had mentors that we were looking up to, that were guiding us. And now we should be the mentors
Right.
That's right.
for this
That's
next
good.
generation.
That's right.
Well, as we maybe land the plane,
Yeah.
let's go around individually and try to summarize. Okay, what advice would you give the folks for the next 25 years to get through the next 25 years? What wisdom, what heart, what advice would you give based on what we've been through?
Find a way to commit. We've all committed. We see many people that have been here 5 years or less, some more. We see how committed they are to this church. Sherry and I told Stephanie this, I said, do you realize how much you got to mess up to get me out of this church? Otherwise, I'm stuck, and I'm stuck to the day I'm up front laying that way, I said that to her. Well, it's okay. She took it in the right spirit, but it's about commitment. And we have pointed out so well the highs and the lows, and it didn't break us. Sherry and I really never really considered ever leaving. There was times we talked about stuff, problem, but no. But it's commitment. But you see the bigger picture constantly, and the bigger picture is just about everybody that's here and all the people we see on Sundays. And then the way I look at it is looking back and seeing all of those little kids over there. Because I can remember back when we were at the Children's Museum, and the little tykes, and now they're
Having
married,
types.
No, their little types are over there.
Yeah, you see, that's the thing. And just like, that's what it is. That generation's even committed.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
hey, you set it up. I just
I know.
said it just comes back to that thing about
Yeah.
making that personal choice to be committed to this.
Great advice.
Sure.
Discipleship. I think that it's important, especially after a baptism, to disciple those people, because that's when it gets really rough.
Mm-hmm.
Right after that, I taught a class this year with the 5th graders for a couple of months that really turned out to be more of a discipleship thing than anything else. And I just love to see that grow more into our classes, because if we're not training these kids in, maybe that's not the right word, we need to disciple our children, because they need to be the next church, whether it's here or somewhere else. I want these kids to have such an experience that they can't imagine ever leaving the
And
Lord.
you've been doing that this summer.
And I'm not the only one.
I know you're not.
But
I know you're not. But we thank
but
you.
it's I love these kids. Them and Lachelle Ford. Lachelle Ford has decorated the kids' building for the last 2 months. And we all know Brian, with all of his
amazing.
stuff with the state. But over there, I told her, you don't understand, this is a ministry, what you're doing. She said, oh, it's just Pinterest. I said, no, nothing I've ever done on Pinterest has ever looked like Pinterest. And she has created a deep sea world
Yes.
over there that is, I said, even if kids don't remember the specifics, that there was a coral reef over by the, even if they don't remember that, they're going to remember somebody put a lot of work
Yes.
into their learning space
Yeah.
on Sunday mornings. And that is a ministry. And all of that counts. Every time someone serves those kids, every time someone serves in any capacity in this building, in this ministry, then we teach them that. We teach them something, and we make a difference. I don't feel like anything is. I feel like it's all eternal. Everything that we do and pour into this belief.
Church
Well,
body.
okay, so I think the word that I was thinking of is kind of for us, and maybe others that are in these generations, like sitting here, but that people, how do I say this? Be honest with our stories, like what we have experienced, what we have gone through, because it will be an encouragement to other people, and not from a place of like we've got it all figured out, but honestly from a place of
That wouldn't be honest.
yeah,
Right.
from a place of like life is still hard
Yes.
sometimes, but
Absolutely.
Yes.
but we endure and God is good. And one of the things that I am still learning with God, David and I talked about like the losses we've experienced, but is that God will be there even if we lose more.
Yeah.
And that is truly hard to say.
It is.
Sometimes.
It
He
is.
does not promise that more will not be taken, that we will not lose more, but he does promise that he will be here. And I just think we have a life to share. We have life stories to share. We have hard things to share, that will be an encouragement to other people,
That's
because
awesome.
there isn't anything that we have been through that they maybe aren't currently going through. So
You started that off by saying for this group, but really that's for everyone.
It's for everyone.
That's just not.
it is.
It's
It
for
is.
everyone to share.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to share.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I
agree.
think we also, though, I do think that is true, but I think that we, in our humility, like being willing to share and being willing to go up front and when we need prayer, and being willing to, see someone that we think, I might relate to their story, and, be able to engage with them. I just think, it's so important. So important to be generous in that way.
Beautiful.
Going around the circle.
I think
That's the way it's
think it's
kinda
you.
way it's happening.
Yeah. Free to
Think it's
pass.
you.
Anybody who's an introvert. I think for me, it would be it's not about us. It's not about us. There was one point where we were at a pretty rough point in the church, and I was like, hey, am I going to stay or am I going to go? And one of the clearest times I've heard the Lord, he said, I don't need you. I was like, well, it looks pretty bad. Like, I'm a decent dude. I don't need you.
When you were still a pastor.
When I was still a pastor, I don't need you. Yeah, and at that point, I was doing a lot.
At the living room and everywhere else, yeah.
The living room and all the discipleship classes and everything else. And I don't need you. And that's proven true, right? I mean, we would have thought, oh, we can't lose Clint. Oh, we can't lose Wayne. We can't lose Ted. We can't lose Joshua. We can't lose David. We can't lose Chris. Well, lost them all in one form or another. Can't lose Jesus. That's what we can't lose.
That's right.
We can lose David,
The constant.
but we can't lose Jesus. So that's it. It's just can't lose Jesus, and Al really needs to turn his ringer off.
I'll do it now.
Not the first time it rings.
Yeah.
Wait, did you see who was calling? That might be Jesus. Was it?
Yeah, seriously.
Wow, I gotta go.
I've always wanted that, right? Let's be
Totally.
Jesus.
Let's just be
Call
Jesus.
me.
Yeah, there
we
you
can't.
go. Al, did you just hang up on Jesus?
He's going to be really disappointed when I tell who was here. whether a guy walks in, or if a guy walks in and sits down, he needs to hear that there is an expectation for him that exceeds his failure. And the fact that the guy gets here is
Huge.
yeah, huge. It may have been years before he darkens the door, as they say. So we need more players on the field and fewer referees blowing the whistle. No, we're glad you're here. You know, the change will come. And for others, it's the old Ronald McDonald idea that I love McDonald's. She loves those fries. She really does.
I do.
And you go through McDonald's and you're like, you're coming here, and you do this time after time. And the one time that they don't put the pickles on or leave the onions off, are you going to stop going to McDonald's? A lot of people do, you know. As the application goes here, you know, one little myth.
Yeah, good point.
And we've all kind of been there, I think, where you go, no, I think I'll shop someplace else. And but for somebody to be able to hear something as life-changing as the redemptive story of what Christ did for each of us is what has to happen. And rather than some kind of a social Sunday experiment for a guy to see, oh, let's find out what Fred, Ned, and Bill and Jim do. And we slap each other on the back and we can go out and do what we've always been doing. Something life-changing for people that come here out of either they're just driving by or somebody's been haranguing them for the last 20 years, you know, come in and listen. That's what I find what has to continue for the next 25 years to truly make a change. Because all of you got to this point as a personal, were invited by somebody else as a Christian. And that Christian was mentored by another Christian, by another. And I sit there and you look, wow. You follow, everybody watch Roots on, PBS, and they follow the roots back. Well, somebody told somebody, and it started with the story of Christ. And so you don't have any DNA together, but you're all linked back to that life-changing event in history. I find that pretty amazing when you sit and in the dark of the night when you're sitting there thinking things over, you kind of go, wow, that's pretty incredible. You can trace your legacy back by word of mouth. Each are changed. So I'm done.
I think of the word encourager, especially to your two boys, for example, being so young, but yet so talented, and they use that talent for the Lord. And I just feel like we need to be that encourager to let them know how much the Lord's, appreciates them, and it helps, of course, that they know the Lord. But all these kids that are coming through just like when they were being baptized. I didn't know them, but I want to go up and know and encourage them and welcome them to the kingdom of God. So that's the word I think of. So the future.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's great.
I would say get involved and put your trust in the Lord. And it's not about us. It's just about listening to God and doing His work. And there've been rough times, and there've been times when we talked about should we go somewhere else. But some of it we were already pretty involved here, and it was hard to have that commitment. And we tried to stay committed, and I'm glad that we did.
We are too.
Mine, I'm kind of almost tagging along a little bit that, we always said this church wasn't about a building. It's about, people make the difference.
Exactly.
And then the church is a community, and our church is about community. And the next 25 years, I would hope that we continue that in our community, that we, whether we add on to this building or not, that we're just taking and participating and going out and meeting the people at Kirby where they're at, meeting the neighbors around Kirby, and we don't have to have a brand new, beautiful building.
Yeah.
We just have to have people that love Jesus.
Well, getting this far along in the circle, piggyback on the other stuff, that basically get involved. And it's easy to do. There's three things from my past experience that have helped. One was my mother-in-law, Bobby King. When she first started coming to church, it was fine, but then she missed a couple of weeks. And my wife Karen asked her, well, aren't you going to church? She goes, no, I missed a couple of weeks and nobody's called me. And Karen told her, well, have you called anybody?
Thank you, Karen Wren.
Bless her heart.
If I heard once, nobody called me.
Get involved.
Exactly.
Another
That's
instance would
cute.
be David Smith. And I think you've preached on this, but something I remember that you said a long time ago was, why me? No, why not me?
Exactly.
You remember saying that years
Not
ago?
really.
Good answer.
Christina
I
remembers.
remember
It's
something.
done.
I remember.
Yeah.
There's a lot I don't remember
You
that.
know, I asked, why me? No, what I should be asking is, why not me?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
get involved.
Mhm.
One of the things early on that I did get involved was teach a kid's Sunday school class. I'm not a teacher. At the time, I didn't know the Bible back and forth like, I thought a Sunday school teacher should. No, get in there, get in the classroom with the kids. What you don't know, they're going to teach you anyway.
Yeah.
So, that's
You'll
gonna be
probably
the
learn
best-
more from them.
Yeah, definitely do. I mean, just get involved. Small groups. We're, currently in a small group. Julie and Ed are with us. We've got people in that small group that haven't gone to this church for years, have moved away, moved back. We've got a couple in Madison, Wisconsin. That's still part of our group.
Wow.
So it's get involved in a small group and don't worry about it being a group from the church, whatever. Just get in a small group of people that you can go through life with. Do that for the next 25 years. It's golden. There you go.
I guess I would say faithfulness. If you are faithful to show up, God's going to be faithful to meet you where you are.
Yeah.
And show up. So that would be my advice. Just show up and be Be faithful.
It's good.
Very good. Well, when I look back at in my life, the times that I've been at my lowest are the times when I'm the farthest from God. And but He keeps putting people in my life that bring me back closer, whether it be Pat and Cammy Jones, and I'm buying a Toyota 4Runner, and they're inviting me to church. Or and we honestly become friends through the whole thing, and community lovers, in the process. To people that have helped save our marriage.
Love you, buddy.
People that I knew I could count on, and Joshua Brand is one of those people too. To me, it's be mindful. You're either a person that believes that everything is a miracle or nothing is a miracle, and I think there are just two kinds of people, and I've just become more of one that believes that everything is a miracle. All I'm trying to do at this point is figure out how to, teach our kids, how to get through the tough times in life, because they're going to be there, and I believe that Pat Jones and David Smith and Brad Benbow, are people that have reminded me that the worldview that's going to help me and my kids get through the tough times it's Jesus Christ and the church. And so my advice, for the next 25 years would be a dreamer and be a doer. Hanging around with Brad as long as I have, he's the best dreamer on the planet. And I think that one of the things that he taught me was, that when you're reaching for the stars, you might not always catch one, but you won't end up with a handful of mud either. And did we build that model church? No. Did we have some amazing experiences together and help each other, build our lives? Absolutely. And then to your point, you got to do. You just got to do, right? You got to get involved. You got to do.
Nike baby, just do it.
So be a dreamer, be a doer, and the next 25 years will happen.
So for me, I think the thing that worries me about the church is how judgmental people are of each other and how hard they can be on each other, when for me the easiest thing that I always reach back to that I feel like God teaches me is to love everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like when you're judging people, you're not loving them. You can't do both at the same time. And I have always felt like our church family is a family of lovers. That we accept each other as we find each other, and we love each other where we find each other. And that is what has set this church apart for me. I look at other churches where people are leaving and people are breaking up, and I was thankful to see some of them walk through our doors finding acceptance and love here when they didn't find acceptance and love in their church home in another part, but it makes me sad that they didn't. I just think you just got to remember, love God and love each other. And it's pretty daggone simple. And so when people start being judgy, I'm like, nope, that's not the right thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well said. Very good.
Let's pray. Hi, Jesus. Thanks for not giving up on us. We don't know what we're doing. We haven't known what we're doing. We knew we wanted to chase you. Thanks for not giving up on us. Will you continue to speak to us? Help us to hear you.
Yes.
Help us to lay down our preconceived ideas of who you are and the things that we put on you. Help us to lay it all down and just hear whatever you're saying, whether it's easy, whether it makes sense. If it sounds like who you were, love, servanthood, sacrifice, help us to follow you.
Yes, Father.
Will you help us as a group of people, a congregation of people, to just be bent toward love? Will you help our leaders to be bent toward love? Would you sustain our leaders, Lord, as we all know it takes a toll. Thanks for being with us. Amen.
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 Jesus, find us here. Send your glory down. You change the atmosphere. We live to see your kingdom now. Father, you are here. Watch your children dance. We'll be fools for you. We'll do the things we see you do. We believe what you said. We believe a song.